Hey guys, I am back and today I am going to be doing the finale to my book Roulette in 2023 series. I didn't film this as soon as I originally intended. Things just kind of got away from me, but I'm finally ready to sit down, talk about what books I've read over the past 2.5 months, and we can hop straight into this progress. So I read 9 books over the last 2-ish months, and I had 14 prompts left. So obviously I did not reach the goal of 50 total books in 2024, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end, but I did want to preface that this wasn't a completely successful update, but I'm still really happy with all of the progress that I made. So the first book that I read was a book that became a movie, and I read Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I did really enjoy this book. I was surprised at how different the book was from the movie, and in order to not spoil anything, because I do think it is a very worthy read, some of the supporting characters, the book delved more into them, and they were different than they were portrayed in the movie, but the main love story between the two main characters is roughly the same. Then the next book I read was Violetta by Isabella Allende, and that was a book set somewhere you've always wanted to visit. Isabel Allende, I believe, is Chilean, and this book, while not set in any specific country, it's kind of set in South America, and I would love to travel to every South American country available. I would really love to travel all over there, so I read this for that prompt. It's about a woman whose life starts in the Spanish flu in 1920, and she passes away in 2020 during the coronavirus pandemic. And so her life is kind of bookended by these two pandemics, but she does so much in between, and it's a really good read. Kind of slow at first, but once you get into it, I was very excited to see what happened next. Then the next book I read was 100 Ways to Change Your Life by Liz Moody. I kind of fell out of reading, especially over November, because I was doing National Novel Writing Month. So the time that I would normally be reading, I was writing. And due to that, I kind of was I didn't know what to read. And I saw this one, and I normally don't really like self-help books, so I chose it for a book that scares you. But I was also kind of feeling stuck in a rut in general, so I thought I would give it a try. I listened to it as an audiobook. Liz Moody, her voice is very soothing, and her book starts talking about how the entire thing is meant to be something where you can take what resonates with you, let go of things that maybe not so much, and take from the book what really helps you and try things out. And if it doesn't work, then you don't have to. So I've been implementing a few of the tips. I've been trying to take cold showers, and she has one where every time you see something that brings you joy, you verbalize like delight. That's a delight, because it's easy to focus on the negative things that happen during the day more than the positive things. So by calling them out, you're bringing your attention more to them, and then when you look throughout the day, you're like, oh, I had 9 delights this day, rather than like the one email that pissed you off. So I thought that was cute. I've been trying to do it, but it's hard habit to get into. And then the next book I read was When Women Were Dragons, by Kelly Barnhill. I read this for a book based entirely off its cover. I'll try to insert covers over here, but editing has been a little difficult lately. Um, this cover is so beautiful. It's like green, it's got dragons and like these purplish flowers, if I remember correctly, and I saw it in women's contemporary literature and went, that, I want to read that, and I put it on my to be read list. I never read the back of it. I had no clue what it was about. I was just like, the name's appealing and the cover's beautiful. I'm all in. So that was the next book I read. Then I read Finding My Elf, which was an audiobook, but it's a very cute, just like they're in college technically, but it's kind of like a little like high school love rom-com. Think like Love Simon-esque. and it's very cute, and they work at this Christmas store, and they're both elves, so it's very holiday. So that was a book set during Christmas. Then I read Handmaid's Tale for a Banned book, which is by Margaret Atwood. Obviously, this became a very popular TV show. It is banned in some libraries, so I put this down. And honestly, it does have some very adult themes, so you can see why maybe like libraries at children's, like at like elementary schools, maybe this isn't the appropriate book for that, but I do think it is a good read for if you are prepared for the more mature themes in it. And it's definitely very interesting to kind of picture what would happen in the US. It's similar to the book by Octavia E. Butler that I read, The Parable of the Sower, but depressing in a different way. That sounds so bad. It's still a good read, but it definitely is eye-opening. And then the next two books I read were in the same series. So it was A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and then the second book in the series, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. So good. So good. My friend recommended this series to me. That's why Court of Thorn and Roses is for a book a friend recommended. And then the second book is a book with magic. So obviously it's fantasy. I have not gotten this into a fantasy book in a really long time, and I am like losing my mind waiting for my library to have the next book ready. I'm honestly thinking of just buying it. Normally, I try to live with the mentality of like, you can always wait for whatever the thing is, just because feeling the need to buy something right now isn't always very healthy. So I always try to remind myself like, you can wait, like you won't die, but I think I might die. I cannot wait to see what happens. Again, some mature themes, but I think overall it's a pretty good book, and there's a reason why it's so popular. I do find some of the writing a little repetitive. She talks a lot about painting, like a lot about painting, and like that's kind of the character's thing. And there was a point where I was like, Jesus Christ, if she says paint one more time, I'm done. But it's still really good. I wasn't actually going to be done. I wanted to see what happened. I was just being dramatic. And then the last book I read, I finished yesterday, and it was Happy Place by Emily Henry. And this was a book I was so excited to come out. And then it came out, and then I heard nothing but like kind of negative reviews of it. It was like, oh, it wasn't as good as the other ones. It wasn't as good, blah, blah, blah. I was like, really? Like, what's going on here? Like, I loved book lovers and people we meet on vacation and beach reads so much. I was like, how can she write a book that's not good? I don't understand. So it kind of fell to the bottom of my to be read list because I didn't want to be disappointed. And then it was in my mom's Kindle library already, and I was in a pinch. I needed something to read after I finished A Court of Mist and Fury. So I picked it up, and honestly, it was really good. I think it's still really cute. If you liked All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover, very similar themes, but what I liked about this more than All Your Perfects was the friendships that the main character has in Happy Place. I think carries the book and makes it more uplifting. Like, it's not just about the relationship between her and the love interest. It's also about the relationship with these college friends that she's built and her family members. And I think it's a more well-rounded main character. In All Your Perfects, a complaint I've heard from multiple people, and at first I didn't pick up on it, but then upon further speculation, the main character is kind of just like focused on the problems in her marriage and her husband, and that's it. And like the fact that their marriage isn't going very well, which is the theme of both books, and that's all she thinks about. It's like kind of like she doesn't have anything else going on in her life, which makes things even more difficult for her. But yeah, it's not as entertaining of a read. So that is everything. I have read 45 out of 50 books for the year. I thought about continuing for like another month or two and getting those 5 other books and doing another finale, but I do think another reason why I slowed down on reading the past 2 months is because I just wasn't super inspired by the remaining prompts that I have left, which is a book you were supposed to read in school but didn't, a book that was originally written in a different language, a book of short stories, a book that came out the year you were born, which is funny because I actually have already read books that came out the year I was born this year. I just didn't use them for that prompt. Oh, I've read 46 books, actually. So those are the 4 that I didn't read. And I'm excited to finish the Court of Thorn and Roses series and read some books that are on my nightstand right there that haven't gotten read yet, and just kind of read whatever I want for a little while. I want to read like 20 books in 2024, I think is going to be my goal for myself. I actually haven't done my goal setting yet because I don't have my planner yet. But I do think like 20, maybe 30 would be a good goal. In the year of 2023, I read 39 books, and then like 3 of them I finished early January, and a couple I read like late December of 2022 between the intro and this finale that I'm sitting here now. And that's a lot of books, and I did really enjoy reading them, but I think just some more freedom might help me read just as much when I can pick what I want to read and I'm not waiting for specific things to come on Libby because I need to fill a certain prompt or reading something that I'm just not that excited about. But looking back, there were some great books that I would not have read otherwise. The Sea Gate was so good. The one about the orchard, where was it? The Apple Orchard by Susan Wiggs, that was so good. I really liked Half of a Yellow Sun, which had been sitting in my to be read pile for a while before I read it for this project, experiment, challenge. And then, yeah, I fell in love with Emily Henry this past year, which I've read all 4 of her books. They're all on here. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh, it was so good. I'm reading Daisy Jones and the Six right now, and it's really good so far, but it's definitely a different setup, which is interesting. So Taylor Jenkins Reid was a big theme this year, and I'd like to go back and finish some of the series that I started, like These Violent Delights. I really liked. It's part of a series, but I didn't finish them because I wanted to keep reading books for the prompts. So going back and reading the other 2 books in the trilogy, finishing the Bridgerton series. I read the first 2 books this year. So there's a lot of series that I started and I want to finish out, and also just be able to read at a more leisurely pace, not feel like I have to finish something because I have to get an update up, but I'm still really happy with all the reading I've done this year. I've definitely reinvigorated my love of reading from childhood that kind of tapered off in high school and college, and I am very happy that I did this challenge. So that is everything that I have for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have an incredible, awesome day wherever you are, and that I get to see you in a future video. Thanks, guys!